My name is Chyncia Smith, and as an adult, I had come across different organizations about stuttering, and one of them was the NSA, and I saw that they had these Zoom calls for people who stutter, and it caught my attention, and I just hopped on one day and was exposed to a community of people of all ages, skin tones, backgrounds, and we all stuttered. And so that was my first NSA experience. And then it was later that summer where I came to my first conference. So that's how I got involved with the NSA. When I came to my first conference, I was excited, but also a little apprehensive because stuttering has always been this difficult thing to deal with and talk about. And so just being in a place where there were all these people who stuttered was strange and amazing. I had never experienced that before. So just finding a place where all these people understood this part of me that had been so hard to talk about for so long, it was really special. And that's what kept me coming back. What was leading up to that was just the years I spent feeling very isolated. Just feeling so isolated in an experience that I was going through that most others didn't understand. So coming here and not have to explain or give background or talk about the thing that's hard to talk about, but everyone just get it from the start. It was really special, really special. I mean, the first thing that sticks out for me was that first Zoom call that I was on with the NSA. I had never been in an environment, well, it was on the computer, but I'd never been in an environment where there were that many people that stuttered in the same place. And so just looking at the screen, seeing all the faces, all different ages, skin tones, different countries, and the one thing we had in common was stuttering. That was really, really impactful. I remember just staring at my computer like, what is this? Like, who are all these people? Total strangers, but still feeling a connection to them. And then coming to the first conference I came to and being in person, and still having that same thing, but now like I'm standing next to these people, sitting next to them, having conversation with them. It was really just, was very deeply impactful to be in that kind of environment for the first time in person. The first year I came to a conference, a lot of things were happening in my life around stuttering that were encouraging me to look it in the face. And that's not something that I had done for a lot of years. And the NSA was a big part of that, a big turning point in my life. And so I'm convinced I'll have years ahead of me of just navigating through a lot of things, but that year being a big turning point of, not wanting to run from or avoid the thing that I had been avoiding for so long. That changed a lot of things, and so that Zoom call, it was soon after that I learned that there were conferences that they had, and so I just felt like even though I was a little apprehensive, it just seemed like this is the time to just dive in. I spent so many years just running the other way, not wanting to talk about it or deal with it, and so it just felt like the right time to just turn the other way and stop avoiding, as hard as it may have been, and just look it in the face and, whatever that would look like. And so just putting one foot in front of the other. So coming to my first conference was a big part of that. And then just meeting more people in the community here was a big part of that, and staying in touch. And now coming back to a conference and presenting, it was kind of a, I guess, subconscious goal to do that. It always stuck out in my mind when I saw the emails about the proposals, and submitting them. And, I would think about it, but wasn't sure what to talk about or if I even truly wanted to. But this time around, it just felt like with the things I had been working on internally for the past few years, it seemed like the right time to take that step and try something new, put myself out there and just share some of the things that I've been working through and learning about on my personal journey. Being involved in the NSA has been a turning point. There's been a few things. There was this one year where there were just a few things happening that were really challenging me to deal with stuttering more, and the NSA was a big part of that turning point. Just to actually look something in the face that had been hard to talk about and even think about for so long. Having the encouragement of community was a big part of that through the NSA. I felt so alone for so long with stuttering. I think I have one friend in my life that I met as an adult who also stuttered before coming into the NSA. So it just felt like, most people didn't know about stuttering or the struggles or challenges. So just knowing that there's a community of people who get it, without me having to explain or talk in detail about all the challenges, was so encouraging to know that, okay, there's a group of us that are striving to navigate this journey, and doing it together is it's been really, really powerful for me. So some of the things that were staring me in the face, just the fear of speaking in certain situations, just the worry of, just knowing what I want to say, but not sure if it's going to come out the way that I want it to come out and when I want it to come out. And there was the way that I saw myself because of that, and then the worry of how others might also see me as well, in professional life and personal life. Just a lot of uncertainty. In our culture, stuttering isn't talked about in an accurate light, and so there's a lot of misunderstandings of what it is and confusion, and so and just myself also being confused at times about why there's times where I'm more fluent than others, and just navigating that, it was hard to deal with. So just overall, just a lot of fear, worry, how I saw myself, how others, the possibility of how others saw me too as a person who stuttered. Those things really weighed on me for a long time, and it's just hard to deal with. You kind of just want to live your life and enjoy it and not think about hard things, but that's hard to do in life in general. But when it comes to the way that you speak, it affects all the things you do, professionally, personally, relationships, being a student. Speaking affects everything, and so it touches a really deep place because of that, because you can't get away from communicating in life in some capacity. So growing up with stuttering, when I talk to my parents about it, because I don't remember when I was younger, but they tell me that I started stuttering when I was about 5 years old, and I didn't know what it was. As a child, you're just talking, with your friends and family. But the thing that sticks out to me, my first memories of stuttering are when I was in third grade. And I probably have those memories because that's when I started speech therapy. And I remember just being pulled out of class and having to go down the hall. And I loved class. I loved learning and being challenged in that way. It was a lot of fun for me. So being pulled out from that was hard, as an 8-year-old. And it was confusing. And I had to go down the hall to my speech therapist's office. And from what I remember, a lot of the things we talked about were strategies around ways to not stutter. And so we're trying all these tools and tactics to ease through the stuttering or just reduce it completely. So I think I didn't take time to really think deeply on this as a child, but looking back, I believe that's where the perspective of stuttering being a negative thing came from. My family never made me feel like that, but being in speech therapy and just talking about ways to not do this thing that I do naturally just started to paint a picture that I shouldn't be doing this thing. And that was hard because that was how I spoke naturally. And so that's probably where my view of stuttering, just seeing it in a negative light, seeing myself in a negative light started. Thankfully, my family's always been very supportive and they've never affirmed any negative connotation to it, but how your family sees you and how you see you can be two very different things. And it's hard when you tell yourself messages, when those messages are, also reinforced through media and people that don't know but make jokes when you're around and have no idea, that you stutter. It's like, okay, it's even movies I can think about growing up. There was a movie where one of the characters was making fun of a child who stuttered, and he was like, today, Junior, and just that kind of thing. It was just like, so I had friends that would joke about it. They didn't know what stuttering was. And so just those kind of reinforcements really, really just told me that this is a negative thing and I should try my best to not do it. So then my goal subconsciously became, okay, don't do that, don't do this thing, and just added a lot of tension and stress for a lot of years. As I got older, I really had some great speech therapists, but it was still hard, still being pulled out of classes and things like that when I didn't want to be. So it was still something that was hard to talk about, but that's where a lot of that perspective came from, I think, for me growing up. Just the weight of it weighed heavily on me. I think about the times where I had to give presentations in my classes growing up and how friends wouldn't even think twice, about that kind of assignment. And, it was never the material that concerned me. I loved learning, loved being a student, but it was always just a presentation of, the material and just when things would go badly, and by badly I mean when I would stutter through it, just how I would feel afterwards, just so much weight, shame, and guilt. And it was hard to work through that and, come from under the weight of it would take some time. And that was a pretty constant theme growing up, just the weight of just trying to navigate through those moments where it felt really heavy, like I failed, because to me stuttering felt like failure. And it was like I was failing a lot, because I was stuttering, which that's how I used to think, stuttering was not something that I should do, so therefore I'm doing something wrong, therefore I'm, in a sense, failing. And nobody, I don't think, really wants to do that, fail in life. And so to feel that way was really heavy for a long time. Oh, I coach, well, for a long time I was in accounting. So I was doing that for a long time. And I also coach some high school sports. I coach field hockey and softball. Yeah. My mom is always, she's my number one cheerleader, number one advocate for everything. And she's the one who I would always, whenever I come home crying about a, hard experience, bad presentation or whatever, just feeling the weight, she was always the one that was there just with open arms every time. So, yeah. What do I feel like my stutter has given me? An unexpected perspective. I'll call it a gift. It's easier to call it a gift on this side of having started to work through the layers of it. But just my perspective of speech in general, of life, of really valuing words. We can all speak out of turn. We're all human, but being a person who stutters, there's a lot more work that goes into the task of talking. And so just really valuing what I want to say, making sure that it's, the best thing to say. But thinking, I think just being a thoughtful speaker, a thoughtful thinker in that way, because I realize just the value of being able to say something. Because I know there's been times where I've wanted to say things and couldn't, or because I wanted to say things but didn't say it the way that I wanted to. So really valuing just being able to communicate, and also listen to people in a way too, because I know what it's like to want to be listened to. And I think for those of us who really hunger for that, it cultivates a capacity to want to offer to others what we long to have ourselves. So. Learning how to use my voice has first meant, realizing that I have one, because I spent so many years, like I was saying, forfeiting that, not speaking up when I could have or even wanted to. I think about the times I'd be in class as a student, not raising my hand when I wanted to, just wanting to contribute and share. So knowing that I have a voice, that in itself is a gift. To know that what I have to say is important, and that it matters, if no one else, to me, and that it's good to use it, that I can use it. Whether I'm stuttering or not, I have a voice that's worth listening to. I'm presenting a workshop called How We Listen, and during that turning point time where I started to look stuttering in the face and work through the layers of it, I learned more about how I speak and my perspectives of myself, but I've also been learning not just how I speak, but how I listen, and how much the thoughts in my head about, what I'm going to say, what it might sound like, what others might think of me, how that can sometimes cloud my ability to hear what someone else is saying, and how I can hear their voice but not really be as in tune as I should be to what they're saying, and listening well, because I'm so scared about what I'm going to say next and how that may or may not be perceived. And so, getting to a point where I'm more accepting of my stutter and not as afraid of what I sound like, starts to free up that space in my mind, where I'm more able to be patient for my turn to talk, rather than let my mind be consumed with what I'm going to say, what it's going to sound like. And that space now gives me a chance to hear someone else, to really give them my attention, because it's not being hijacked by my fear and worry over my own voice, to now actually be able to hear somebody else's voice a lot better. You have to be brave. You have to be brave. That was one of the key parts of my journey, just choosing to step out and choosing to look stuttering in the face. Just taking a step of courage to do that is so important. Because otherwise you probably won't take that step. So being courageous, stepping out, being brave, just to look in the face something that may be hard to look in the face. Because looking at it is just one thing. You know, I spent a lot of years not wanting to look at it. So just stopping, doing a 180, you know, looking it in the face, that was a huge thing. And that was an accomplishment in itself for me, just to stop avoiding and stop hiding as much. But then actually asking the questions of, you know, where does my perspective of myself come from? Getting to those layers beneath the surface has been big. So I would encourage others to take their time as they go through, because as you think through the layers, it'll probably expose a lot of things you didn't even realize you were believing about yourself. And that can be hard to deal with because you see all the ways that you have missed out on some things, the lies you've been believing about who you are. That can be a lot to work through. So I would say be brave and be patient. And I think lastly, be persistent, because, you know, once you're on that journey, you have to keep going. You can't just start and stop because it's hard. It will be hard, but the hard is okay. And it's okay to keep putting one foot in front of the other and, you know, learning more about yourself and stuttering in this journey. It's probably going to be a lifelong journey, and that's okay too. But continuing to walk, you know, in that bravery will take you a long way.